All right, the ICE Director Todd Lyons joins us now. And, sir, good to see you, and Merry Christmas to you. I want to talk about this 60 Minutes piece that's been pulled from the air and is, of course, now getting way more attention than it would have ever gotten if it had just run. The allegation in that piece, though, as you know, is that these 250 Venezuelans who were deported from this country, illegal aliens from this country, deported to the CICOT prison in El Salvador, they were there for a few months before they got sent back to Venezuela, ultimately. The allegation is that they were improperly in prison, despite many of them committing no serious crime other than just illegally crossing into the country. That's the story that 60 Minutes put together that Barry Weiss pulled from the air. Just want to get your reaction to what the story alleges now that it's been leaked out. It's all over social media.
You know what, Rob, the big frustrating for me thing is the fact that when, you talk about these individuals that was sent down there, right? We just don't randomly pick people to go to some country or to go to some prison. These were individuals that were either known as suspected gang members, had committed a crime in the United States, or were in the country illegally. They're just trying to make some kind of headway or news about what we are doing and the fact that we're actually following the Immigration and Nationality Act. President Trump has said it from before. He's allowing ICE to do the mission we've always meant to do. And that's what we're doing. And unfortunately, because of the political background of ICE, some people don't like the law enforcement mission we conduct every day, but we're still going to do it. We're not going to let stuff stop us like this. We would have never sent anyone out of the country illegally. So to me, we just kind of, on the ICE side, we're just kind of tuning it out right now.
No, I can understand that. Is there a pretty good method that's used to determine if somebody is a gang member? Some of what's alleged in the 60 Minutes piece is that people that had never been affiliated with a gang at all were just said to be in a gang because they had tattoos, and then they were sent to CICOT where they were tortured for several months.
Rob, we've been doing this for so long, right? And the bad part is even under President Biden's administration, President Trump's administration, before President Obama's, this is my fifth time working with a different administration. ICE gang intelligence, Department of Justice intelligence, when it comes to that, we've been doing this for so long. We didn't just pull it out of our hat come January 20th, right? Yeah. It's been based on solid criminal intelligence, solid criminal investigative work, and we'll stand by it. And again, the fact is people are in the country illegally. And we have so many countries that won't take their individuals back. There's so many recalcitrant countries that every day we have to leave an aggravated felon back in our home shores just because they won't take this person back because their crime is too much. And when we do have partners in El Salvador and a lot of these other third countries that will actually take individuals back for us, we have to work with that. But as far as
those 250 couldn't go back to Venezuela. They weren't allowed to be sent back.
So for each one of those ones, I don't exactly know. Okay. But what I'm saying is we have across the board, we have a great third country national system. So, the bad thing is when people now see that we're actually enforcing the law the way it's written, they get frustrated. Sure. And especially when it comes from Congress, we'd like to say all the time, we'll work with Congress side by side, help them repeal whatever laws they want to. But if it's on the books that way, we're going to enforce the law the way it's written.
I want to point something out, that's so interesting, and that's the broader story of how immigration is covered in this country. And 60 Minutes has supposedly been kind of the benchmark, for long-form journalism in this country. Has been for a very long time. I think they've fallen quite a bit, and I think here's an example of it right here, because we went through 60 Minutes logs. This program did not investigate child sex trafficking into this country through the southern border during the entire Biden administration. They never thought that was a story that the viewers in this country, that the people of this country needed to hear about, which was it's a number that's reportedly in the hundreds of thousands. And I don't even know how many women and children collectively together are raped during this process, but that was not a story that 60 Minutes was interested in. But they sure as hell had a big interest in talking about a number of Venezuelan illegals who only for a period of a few months were sent to El Salvador and to the point, a very, very, vile, a very scary prison, I should say, a place that no innocent person would ever want to be sent to, right? But still, their interest in that story was far more keen than the atrocities that are happening to children when you have an open border into the United States for 4 years. That tells you a lot, doesn't it?
Well, and Rob, prime example, right? If you go back to our riots in Los Angeles, when we did the actual criminal warrant, criminal raid on the marijuana farm. We actually found child sex trafficking, child labor trafficking. It was an actual criminal warrant. But nobody looked at that. They said that ICE was hurting produce, hurting crops, hurting people just making a living, when the fact that all the time we hear it, if ICE had a criminal warrant, we'd support them. We were actually out there with a criminal warrant, and we found children that were working underage at this marijuana grow farm in California, but no one covered that.
It tells you so much. And again, the fact is that you guys are cleaning up a gigantic mess that should have never been made in this country. And there's no appreciation for that either, about how hard it is to come into a country that's had an open border for 4 years, to come in and have to clean up what was left for you, which is, just an incredible disaster that you have to clean up. And they're just sitting there waiting for any mistake that they can possibly punch in for headlines. I mean, that to me that's not journalism. If you're not going to cover how it happened, but you're going to cover up how it's being cleaned up, that's not real journalism. That's partisan. You just finished this.
You have to cover both sides.
Yeah, absolutely. And that didn't happen, as we just showed from 60 Minutes for the last 4 years. You just finished Operation Angel's Honor, which was a 2-week nationwide blitz arresting violators of the new Laken-Riley Act, which mandates any illegal alien who has been accused of violent crimes be arrested. You had over 1,000 arrested, charges of homicide, battery, sex assault of a child under 13, domestic violence. Tell us about this operation.
Obviously the Laken-Riley Act is really, it really strikes home with us, because these are the ones that we want to go out there, we want to arrest, right? President Trump made that promise that he was going to go after the worst of the worst while doing the largest mass deportation ever. But we are focused on the worst of the worst. When you see those crimes that just scrolled, homicide, rape, assault and battery, those are the people you don't want in your community. What I find glaring is the fact that the 119 Congress voted this law enacted. So we're doing that. It was great work by the men and women of ICE. Our hearts and prayers went out with every Angel family that's affected by this. But the problem is, now we have elected officials that were actually out there enforcing a law that Congress enacted in January, and we're still being called the demon, Gestapo, Nazis. Look at those crimes you just showed. Rape, homicide, fentanyl trafficking. People should be applauding ICE for what we're doing and taking the people out of the streets. 14 days, we've got 1,000 people that are convicted, not just here illegally, although some of them did have final deportation orders for years and have been hiding in plain sight. But heinous crimes that we're actually taking off the street. Yeah. That should show the American people exactly what ICE is doing every day.
Well, I mean, you look at there's indications that the president's poll numbers are actually ticking up. I mean, there was one polling that just came out that he's at 50% approval, 41 disapprove from Insider Advantage. And I think that the fact is that as busy as you are, and you and Tom Homan and the rest, Kristi Noem, it's important that you get on television and correct the narratives that are being created about immigration in this country, because they have totally perverted, what the reality of the immigration system in this country is, and the idea that we can't just have an open southern border. We can't just have open borders in a country that's wealthy and this prosperous. You guys, it's so important that you get on television and just correct that, which is what you're trying to do as much as you can, and I appreciate that. The ICE Director Todd Lyons.
Thanks, Rob.
Thank you, sir. Merry Christmas.
Thanks. Merry Christmas, Rob. Good seeing you.
All right, good to see you.
Everybody's reporting the same stories, the same spin. You turn the channel, it's always the same. But not us. We're different. We report the real news. No spin, just the facts. Turn to us, and you won't turn back.
Tune in to Rob Schmidt tonight on Newsmax.